Well, and thank you for this timely and very, very important hearing. Uh, as as you well know, sir, and as the gas and oil industry clings to every opportunity to delay, to attempt to, with different rationale, prevent any action that begins to come to grips with the need to transition away from fossil fuel or to deal effectively with climate change. Uh, Everything is about taking more time, and I think what just happened in California should be is a wake up call, and I appreciate the timeliness and your leadership on this issue very much. All of us do. A couple of questions. Uh, Dr. Bosch and Ms. Savitz, uh, when we think it's easy for people to understand how active offshore pipelines can lead to spills that devastate marine environments and coastal communities. It's there, it's tangible, it's graphic. But the threats posed by abandoned pipelines don't have that kind of attention. Those that are not currently transporting oil or gas, they're not much less understood, known about, or appreciated by the public. Can we talk a little bit, both of you, about the hazards and dangers of abandoned pipelines in the Gulf of Mexico?
Well, since you mentioned me first, I'll start. Then Jackie can follow. I'll just point to two recent examples in the Gulf of Mexico where older pipelines, abandoned pipelines, have caused problems. One is, as was mentioned, in Hurricane Ida. There was all of a sudden appeared an oil slick, and it lasted for several days. And apparently, it was traced to an abandoned pipeline that had not been fully cleared of all the residual oil in it. So all that oil leaked out during that incident. Another, of course, is an ongoing issue. I think you all know the states in the Gulf are trying to restore their environments, the coastal environments, using funds from the BP oil spill, including restoring barrier islands and so on, just off the coast of where a lot of this oil and gas development takes place. And one island is so understrewn with the myriad of pipelines coming in. Most of them, we don't even know where they are or who built them and when, that it really interferes with the ability to restore that barrier island. Similarly, the sand resources from offshore, the pipelines underlay those sand resources. So they have to be careful about where they dredge them because they don't know exactly where the pipelines are. Those are just two recent examples.
Thank you.
Those are really good examples, Dr. Bosch. And, I would just say that I think abandoned infrastructure can cause pollution. It can lead to navigation hazards or damage to archaeological sites if it's moved by a storm. And oil and gas pipelines can leak oil and gas. And we've seen that happen in the past as well. And so I think that we need to consider that when we make decisions about decommissioning.
So another point that was made, Ms. Savitz, we referenced that rigs to reefs program that they provide an asset, they provide a biodiverse environment in which fish and life can grow, and that they become the alternative. And so how does that relate? That point relate to the discussion that the point that this legislation seeks to address, and that is to deal with the abandoned pipelines, abandoned infrastructure, and to make the oil companies responsible for that. And how does the two relate, if at all?
Well, I think there may be instances in which it makes sense to leave some infrastructure in place, but I think those should be the exceptions rather than the rule. And unfortunately, based on the data that's been unearthed by the Government Accountability Office, it's become very clear that our government essentially has made it the rule that decommissioning in place is the way to go. Not technically the rule, but with 97% approval, That's, essentially what's happened. And I think there's enough infrastructure out there and there's enough money behind that infrastructure that we shouldn't just assume that it stays in the water.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much for the hearing and look forward to your field hearings that you're going to have in California, and thank you for that as well, and look forward to the outcome of that. Thank you very much, and appreciate the time.
Thank you, Chairman Grijalva.